Hello, everyone. It's Ivan here, and I'm here with my new best buddy on the golf course, Jordon Simpson. How are you, Jordan?
Yeah, doing well, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, awesome. And we can talk about golf all day, every day, but we won't be doing that because we're going to be here talking about business. And you have one of the most interesting businesses I've come across recently. Yeah, tell us a little bit about Overwatch and what you've been doing.
Yeah, can do. And I remember that conversation that we had in the Drummond when we first met as well. So Overwatch is a managed cybersecurity service designed for small business owners.
Yeah.
And then the like of, typically small business owners will have a family life outside where they're taking their devices home. So we ended up integrating a let's call it an all-encompassing security platform where we can look after not only those small business owners but also their families. So from the kids to the wife to individuals, right, of a high net wealth as well. So what we've been able to do is design our platform and service to work in, I guess, accompaniment of each other, and deliver a monthly reporting capability to prove that your family is protected or your small business is protected, and effectively extend a professional element towards home-based cybersecurity services.
Yeah, and I thought I felt immediately there was so much synergies between what you were doing in terms of what we're doing. One of them was the fact that we're small business owners. The differential in terms of where life and their family home and as well as the workplace starts and finishes
Yeah,
is very minimal, right? People are always on the go, always using their phones for work, and as well as
exactly.
their home office is obviously pretty much their office as well. So there's no such thing as a home and work differential for a lot of small business owners.
And that's one of the big issues that everyone faces is in cybersecurity lands. Small business owners are more often than not neglected, and these enterprise players will price themselves out of the market. Price themselves out of the competition. So small business owners end up getting quotes for $5,000, $10,000 a month for realistically what could be delivered to them for under $3,000 a month, for example, right? So what that means is it's pretty deterring for them to evaluate any potential provider. And what happens in the end use case is, sorry, Ivan, your video just dropped out.
Not all good.
Back with you. Um, yeah, so what ends up happening is those small business owners will typically buy off the shelf antivirus, right?
Yeah.
And the way the world works right now is with artificial intelligence, everyone's using it as a buzzword at this point.
Mm.
The threat landscape has become so much larger than what anyone can possibly comprehend. You have, COVID, which introduced a bunch of QR code scamming, where teenagers used to print out on laminate paper and place it on tables around
Mm.
cafes and restaurants, pubs and clubs in New South Wales, and run their own scams and they'd spin up websites that looked exactly the same as these, as when you order food on a QR code, and they'd capture your your credit card details, take the bill for it, and then your order would never go through. Simple things like that to
Wow.
very evolved cybersecurity threats where, you have children that are now being targeted on the platforms which the government has now banned as of, I'm pretty sure it's coming in this week. But Discord, Telegram, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger all presented a completely new threat landscape because kids were downloading applications or viruses from attachments like
Mm.
PDFs or HTML documents. HTML files.
Mm.
So you've got all of these different little nuances in the tech industry which are presenting threats effectively.
Mm.
And then for small business owners, when you look at emails, over 80% of emails that are typically delivered to a mailbox present over 80% of emails that are delivered to an inbox present approximately five phishing uh, kind of requests or um, attempts to capture personally identifiable information. So for a small business owner, you're looking at effectively the threat being pushed in front of your face constantly. And what that means for us as a business is we need to turn around and kind of take a more proactive approach. And generic off-the-shelf antivirus, anti-malware, that you can buy from every retailer, it doesn't cut it anymore.
Yeah.
It's like having a dictionary of viruses. Then that dictionary needs to be updated, and that requires an internet connection. It requires, a responsible party to do that update in the first place, right? And our entire business model was based off the fact of why does a business owner have to focus their time to do this? We need to make it easy for them. So we should just be able to do this for them. We should be able to provide those updates, provide that consultative service, provide that kind of it's silver star service.
Yeah, and yeah, that is over and above and on top of all the things that small business owners already have to deal with, in terms of the cash flow, business development, tax planning, a whole bunch of other stuff that,
Exactly.
any small business owners have to do, right? So
Yep.
it's hard for people to get their heads around having something that needs to be operating 24 hours, 7 days a week,
Yeah.
and looking after them, because you and I talked about the fact that it doesn't take much for a business value to be destroyed if these business interruptions and major significant interruptions, and as well as privacy attacks comes into play, right?
It's detrimental to the business brand. I mean, the average cybersecurity incident to a small business costs around $27,000, and that's from a reputational damage as well as potential downtime, as well as funds required in order to potentially pay ransom or alternatively recover devices that have been compromised. Right.
Wow.
So, for a business owner, it's actually quite it stops them in their tracks, literally.
Yep.
And that could be, as simple as you have an online website which gets taken down, and now you have to engage in a disaster recovery process or even service, and you're forking out that initial upfront cost for that team to be engaged in going through and auditing your technology stack. So cybersecurity, and I've dealt with businesses from a corporate perspective for many years. I spent over 10 years in the enterprise tech space selling to household names, and they don't think about it. It's always, we've now got a problem, somebody needs to fix it. And that is a very reactive approach towards what is a proactive threat. You are being targeted every single day. The US Department of Defense fields over 99 million cyber attacks on a daily basis, right? And that's automated, right? Let's just take it from personal cyber target attacks. The reason why I started this business, I had a friend of mine. He owns a franchise of medical practices. Let's err on the side of confidentiality here, and let's say it was in between like a chiropractic, a massage, and a high caps service, right? So government connected, rebates, capturing credit card information, online system, personally identifiable information. They had receptionists, and unfortunately, they received a phishing email on one of their computers. And that phishing email, the receptionist ended up clicking it. It opened a link in a web browser. That web browser then subsequently downloaded that file to the computer. That file was actually what's known as a Trojan, or a remote access tool. And that remote access tool enabled that hacker to gain access to that work computer and monitor it in the background. And then, long story short, they were able to access emails, personal emails, gain banking credential access, and they walked away with about $100,000. Now, look, let's call it a passion project of mine, but that's at a personal layer, watching somebody that I care about go through something like that. They were at a very low point in their life, busy with family affairs, and their business is suddenly taken down as well on the side. And now he's frantically calling, the Australian Federal Police and getting, a crime squad involved in financial crime. Right. So, and then obviously engaging an IT partner that was supposed to provide them protection. And they are a tier one brand. They are available off the shelf, and they had business protection. They paid their, $300 annual fee, and that antivirus didn't stop this from happening. So the issue that we face in this market is because of daily threats, I guess, being developed and then pushed out to the global marketplace. It can come down to the most simple of things, like not keeping your device up to date, or not doing a software update on your iPhone, or not having an email filter, for example. And the best part about, what we've been able to build here is in its purest form, even if, the email filter missed that
Mm.
phishing email, right? Our antivirus would have stopped that download from occurring in the first place, right? And then our technology and our 24/7 response capability means that we would have been able to monitor that threat as well and respond to it in a timely fashion. So the way that people need to think about cybersecurity is in layers. It's
Mm.
the same reason as why you go out in cold weather. You don't want to be cold, so you put on a base layer, you put on a jumper, then you might wear a jacket, you might put on some gloves, right? And you feel protected, right? The same thing should apply for small business owners when it comes to considering security. And you and I aligned on this before. It's the concept of disaster recovery. You don't ever want to go through a disaster and then have to
No.
recover. So, what steps are you going to put into place in order to prevent that? And that's why we think about it in that layered concept.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Having come from financial services and financial planning, it's the same thing as to why you buy insurance in the first place, right? You
Exactly.
kind of never like life insurance. You never want to be in the situation where you have to claim, because if you do, it
Yeah.
just means that something really bad has happened. But just in case you do need to,
Yeah.
they're there.
And that's
So,
that's also a good point to hone in on just really quickly is insurance is not readily available for small business owners in a cyber incident now
mm,
because they're neglecting it. So
mm,
if a small business owner doesn't conduct regular backups and they don't engage in a recovery time which is, reasonable and they've tested that those backups work, your insurer isn't actually going to cover you in a cyber event.
mm.
And those are the two primary questions that actually get asked when people are uh, let's call it getting quotes for cybersecurity insurance, right?
Yeah. So let's bring it back to what you were talking about before in terms of your mate, and as well as the the
Mm,
the the impact that it has on a
yeah.
business. So how important do you think it is for businesses to be thinking about their long-term value, that could be potentially impacted if something like this happens to them?
Yeah, it's a fail to plan to fail type of
Yeah.
scenario, right? I think, long-term objectives are always key. Business owners kind of get lost in the weeds. We're always focused on how much we can reinvest into the organization or whatever we're building, right? Because it's our baby and we love what we do. The thing is that, people often look at starting their own business as a way to get more time back on your hands. And it's the complete opposite. You have less time, probably less resources and also less money. And the only benefit is the reason why you have less money is because you're reinvesting, right? Not having a long-term strategy in place, it kind of means that you're letting yourself down because when you do eventually hit that, success, and I do wish everyone that same level of success, right? Is you've got a cash surplus, and now you're not really too sure what to do with it. So from a financial planning perspective, I can understand like the investment into good quality technology or vendors
Mm,
is is crucial, right?
mm,
Because that way, as your business grows, you're surrounding yourself with the right people and the right partners that you can trust and rely on to get you information when you need it and make informed decisions quite rapidly. So instead of you investing your time and getting lost in the weeds, like I said, now you're just relying on subject matter experts. And
yeah.
quite frankly, you can't be an expert in everything.
Yeah. And one of the things that we talk about as well is in terms of you highlighted a really good point, because the thing is people are reinvesting in their business. They're hoping
Mhm.
to build the value of their business up. And a lot of the people that we deal with are trying to position themselves at some stage in the future where the business is a sellable asset, because
Yeah.
it could well be their biggest asset, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so what I was trying to think of through is that, how readily available is it for them to be able to safely,
Mm.
exit their business even in the short term if they had to go away for like 3 months. you know um if they didn't have this type of security in place, they didn't have the peace of mind
Yeah.
that someone isn't going to do something stupid and destroy it by the time they get back, right?
Small business owners would typically self-manage this. And
Yeah.
I think that is the reason why we're in business in the first place. It's because small business, it's your baby. You want to protect it as best as you can. You feel like you need to control all of the outcomes, and quite honestly, you can't. Um, and what you really need And the reason why I said you can't be an expert at everything is because you want to rely on experts that can actually prove that you've got meat behind the bones. There's a service behind this, and we can show you on a monthly basis. Here's your risk. This is the action that we've taken, or here's your risk, and this is the action that we need to take in order to mitigate, that threat profile in the future. So let's talk about if they were able to walk away. I don't think that any responsible business owner right now should walk away for a couple of weeks or a couple of months at the time without robust cybersecurity measures in play. And that response is twofold, mainly because there are standards that are kind of coming into play now from the Australian Cybersecurity Act. There is a massive push on social media. I'm sure, like most people have seen now from the Associate Signals Directorate, to be cyber aware or cyber safe. So the hints are there. The evidence is right in front of us. You've probably heard of a family or friend who's been done by a cyber incident or had their Facebook hacked. That's a little bit on the lighter scenario, right? But I can tell you now, and I don't like this scenario, but all it takes is one person that would like to act maliciously against your business to pull up certificate of birth, cess and marriages, look you up on LinkedIn, find out your first and last name, probably look at a data breach. Let's use MediSecure as an example. They were a government institution that unfortunately released over half of the Australian population's personally identifiable information a couple of years ago. So your residential address, your mobile number, your wife's name, your GP scripts are probably out there on the dark web already. And that person is going to personally target you. They're going to spam you with emails. They're going to threaten you. They're going to, try and commit identity fraud. And the thing is that there's creative ways that even I can't comprehend. And I'm sitting on the front line at this point, right? So the reason why I bring that to people's attention is because there are more steps in place that are available. Sorry, there are more steps that you can put in place that are actually available to you at a fair price than what you've been told in the past.
Yeah. And it's getting even more and more harder, harder from the point of view of protection, because the thing is that with people's use and adoption of AI for malicious purposes, it's becoming, incredibly hard to keep up as to what needs to be done, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, the thing is that I coming back to the point that I was making before, Jordon, I think it's important for people to realize the impact on the value of their business, because if they're looking at exiting, without having these things in place, without having the safeguards, with the safety rails, the plans, the contingencies, what do you think? How does that play out? What do you think would happen to the impact of the wealth that could be transferred to future generations?
I think it devalues the business, to be quite honest. If I was a prospective buyer and I was looking at investing or buying a business or even taking over for a certain period of time, what I would want is an asset list of what technology you're leveraging in order to put your business out there on the internet, right? If it's an online business, you most likely have a couple of web servers that are being hosted. Are those web servers secured? Who are your existing providers that you're dealing with? Or is it your local IT guy that's used Wix, right? And I don't talk down Wix by any means, but what I'm saying here is, if you can't answer that question or give me a piece of paper that says, all right, here's our asset list, here's our risk posture, here's where our backups are located, just in case something breaks and we can recover within 20 minutes because we've tested it and it works. Here's our cybersecurity insurance policy. Here is our team that looks after our disaster recovery, right? And who's engaging in a security service, and then who's the subject matter expert that could remotely access a device because Janet from accounting needs a password reset, or she can't open her email, right? Little things like that, those nuances that come with managed IT often fall on the business owner, because they're not really going to spend an annual salary for an IT guy. And if they are, the IT guy is already overrun with support requests internally for those password resets. He's not looking at security. He's not looking at doing device updates. He's trying to figure out how he's going to get a monthly report to show all of this stuff together, because he's been asked for it, and it's going to take him 2 weeks now. So
whereas you guys already provide that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's about building a stable, consistent baseline first, and then turning around and going, we will take care of everything. And it sounds too good to be true. And I get that. And then it's also showing it and going and acting as what would be a chief information officer or a chief technology officer role. And that consultative element is actually quite important
Yeah.
because if a business owner was looking to exit or sell, we are that subject matter expert in that field
Yeah.
for all things IT for your business.
Yeah, it's interesting also from the point of view of having someone who's dedicated and you know who to go to if in
Yep.
the event of. One of the things that we do as part of MyPath Wealth is to ensure that the list of contacts of
Mm.
professional advisors and professional service providers like yourself
Yep.
is all readily accessible in the event of. So I'll give you some examples. The thing is that if a business owner was to die, or get disabled, to be caught up somewhere overseas and can't return and whatnot,
Yep.
the business still needs to run, right?
Exactly.
So
The wheels still keep turning.
yeah, and so I find it. I was going to ask you the question. The thing is, how important is it for whoever needs to step up or be the next in line to take over? How
Mm.
important is it for them to know where to go to for that right information?
It's kind of like when you start a new job, right? You've got the onboarding documentation, and then you're
Yeah,
still encouraged to go and speak to other people in the business, and they might not actually give you the right information. And that kind of becomes frustrating because it absorbs your time. You're kind of given a bum steer because you're not really too sure where to look. A central source of information is essential. Um, and in that disaster case scenario, you should only want to call a handful of people. If you can't manage your business with 5 key contacts, then it's probably you probably haven't siloed enough
yeah,
because you should typically have somebody that manages operations, somebody that manages finance, somebody that manages technology, and then let's leave the gray area there for human resources if the business is big enough, right? And then let's leave a miscellaneous role there, which would typically be someone steering the ship, right?
mm,
So all of those roles should have a foundational understanding of how the business works,
yeah,
and those are the people that I would want to go to if I was taking over a new business or buying it, or inheriting it, so that I could go, all right, give me the lay of the land.
yeah,
What's our position look like? Where's our risk? Cybersecurity. What's our financial position, Mr. Accounting? How are our people, right? Is everyone a little bit distressed because, the old owners passed away or whatever it may be? And then, what's our positioning from an operations perspective? Can we still keep going on what we have right now? And that's what I would want to know, right?
mm,
And that's how I would run my business because it works, right?
yeah.
And if one of those portions of my organization isn't running effectively, I want to fix that problem first, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think having people that are experts in their field is so crucial because it means that they're managing it, they're looking after it, right? They've got your back
Yeah.
when it matters the most.
Yeah, and I think we showed you through what we have in terms of the MyPath Wealth digital
Mm.
vault.
Yep.
And one of the things that we do want to make sure is we list out all those go-to people.
Yep.
So I'll give you a great example. There's cases where both mum and dad of the business, who are the founders of the business, if they both pass away in a car accident and leave
Yeah.
behind minors, all right, children who are
Yep.
still under 18 and obviously not in the position to take over the business, guess
Right.
who's going to actually be running the business? It would be the executor or the guardian of the kids, right?
Exactly.
And they would, a lot of the people that we've spoken to would not be classified as ideal business owners. They
Yep.
the kind in the kind uncle or auntie or relative that would take over, or even worse, the grandparents who are already retired like long ago.
Totally. Exactly.
They're not in the position to be able to run the business, but they still
No.
need to know who to go to,
Yeah.
who are the
Exactly.
the experts or the right people.
Mm.
So yeah, I think, as I said, and that's why I love what you're doing. I love what where the alignments are between your business and ours, and yeah, it's so um uh closely related in so many ways.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I just wanted to bring this to a close, Jordan. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to maybe share one piece of wisdom that you like to share with a small business owner that may be watching us having this discussion today. So what would that be?
Running a business is bloody hard. Like it really is. I've built two great businesses. I have had friends that have started businesses and they failed. 20% of small businesses fail within the first year, 70% within the second to third year, right? So the statistics are added up significantly as time goes on against us. Um, you're always busy at the end of the day and you're frantically trying to figure out how you can increase revenue, return on investments, reinvest. You've got a family to manage. You've got, you know, people that you probably are managing as well. And then you probably ask yourself the question every now and then, when the hell do I get to kick my feet up and go play golf like Ivan and I? Or outside of that, it's how do I foster really good long-term relationships? So my piece of wisdom is there are still good people that exist out there that are doing good business in a sovereign, secure manner, right? And that are willing to help and have a great conversation at the end of the day and can prove that their service works. You just have to look a little hard to find them. And when you do, I promise you, like those relationships, you'll have them for a lifetime. Right. And I have definitely found some very good partners and vendors that I've worked with and have the pleasure of now working with my business and I'm only a couple of years in now, right? So I'm sure that these business owners that you've got, Ivan, that are looking at this video are probably thinking I need to, either expand my portfolio or reinforce those relationships. But yeah, I'm sure you've got the right people on the platform.
Yeah, well, let's get them started by contacting Overwatch and MyPath Wealth, and I think that
That's
that
it.
will be a really good starting point.
Yeah, beautiful.
All right, my friend. Look forward to the next time that you and I will be back out on the golf course. But until then, thank you very much, Jordan, for your time today, and look forward to just doing some business with you.
Thanks, Ivan. Looking forward to it, mate.
Okay, cheers.
Bye. Beautiful.